Okay, let's just unpack this universal truth.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes a bad meeting. I mean, nobody.
Right. It's a shared cultural trauma almost.
It is. You even mentioned the word meeting, and you can just see people's shoulders slump. It's this, immediate visceral reaction of dread.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we looked at the research you pulled together and the feeling against those long, sprawling sessions. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
People don't just prefer short meetings, they basically demand them.
Yeah.
Specifically, those little 30-minute blocks.
We've all been trapped in those organizational marathons.
Sorry.
You walk in, you're maybe even excited, and then 2 hours later, you're just staring at a wall.
And you realize nothing has actually been decided.
Nothing. The topic drifted 3 times. Some personal conflict popped up over something completely irrelevant.
And then the solution is always, let's schedule another meeting.
Another 2-hour meeting for next week to revisit the chaos.
And that pain, that cultural pain, is precisely why the half-hour meeting is marketed as this, organizational silver bullet.
The perfect solution.
The promise is just irresistible, right? Quick decision, clock runs out, day saved.
It sounds perfect, especially for workplaces just drowning in bureaucracy. That blind pursuit of speed, it might actually be destroying the very things you need most.
Like good decisions and true creativity. We have to shift our thinking. Our mission here isn't to praise short meetings or, condemn long ones. It's to critique the whole idea of speed for speed's sake. Because for that 30-minute session to be genuinely effective, not just fast, you have to walk in with perfect data, perfect preparation, and a completely unified vision.
And what happens if you don't? If you're rushing it because that 30-minute timer is ticking down?
Then the pressure just takes over. The whole thing degenerates into this high-stakes, low-substance brawl.
So it's not about the best idea anymore.
No. It's about who has the loudest voice, or who have the, quote, heaviest stick of organizational power. You make a fast decision, sure, but it's very often the wrong one.
So if duration is the wrong metric, what is the right one?
It's the purpose. We need to stop classifying meetings by the clock and start classifying them by their intent.
Okay, so
The goal, once you understand that, the right amount of time and the right structure, they just become obvious. We've basically broken it down into 3 distinct groups.
all right, let's jump straight into that first category, which I guess is the necessary villain in our 30-minute world.
Yeah.
The development meeting.
This is group 1. This is where complexity lives.
Okay.
These are the meetings for developing new ideas, complex concepts, evolving a product, anything that needs, deep cognitive engagement. In this kind of meeting, constraint is the enemy.
So speed is actually a bad thing here.
It's the enemy of progress. The whole goal is flow and evolution, not speed.
And the most fascinating case study for this in our sources has to be the Beatles.
Oh, the Get Back documentary. It's a perfect example.
It is. It details the entire creation of the Let It Be album.
And it gives you this remarkable insight into how real creative development actually works. The entire album and, the famous rooftop concert that came after,
Yeah.
it was all forged across more than 20 separate sessions.
And these weren't quick check-ins.
Not at all. We're talking sessions lasting 7 to 8 hours each.
Okay, wait. 7 or 8 hours? I mean, to a modern CEO, that sounds horrifying.
Of course.
Doesn't that just lead to more drifting, more conflict? How can you possibly justify that length?
Because the purpose demands it. When you watch that footage, you see how ideas actually evolve.
Right.
They start at these little fragments. They get played, they get discarded, reworked, someone else chimes in. And then suddenly, hours later, it's rediscovered.
So you need that time. Time for frustration, even.
Yes. Time for frustration, time for rest, and time for the accidental collision of ideas. It has to be messy, because developing something new is messy.
Our sources even pointed out that George Harrison would bring in these almost finished ideas like I, me, mine.
With pre-produced melodies, yeah.
But they still had to go through that long, high-contact group process to be fully refined.
That's the key thing about development meetings. Ideas don't just arrive fully formed. If you try to jam a complex development process into a 30-minute box, everyone just defends their first draft, and you leave with a weak compromise, not a breakthrough.
So the takeaway is you have to budget for that length. If you want ideas to collide and mature, you need the hours.
Otherwise, you just won't get the result.
Okay, so if group 1 is all about incubation and necessary chaos, what happens when that's done, when you just need to deliver?
That brings us to the complete opposite, group 2, the execution or results meetings.
The anti-development phase.
Exactly. The infrastructure's built, the concepts are solid, all the information is there and approved.
It's like the whole atmosphere just shifts.
Entirely. If development is about freedom, execution is about absolute structure, seriousness. The goal is singular,
Which is?
the fastest, most accurate result possible. You're minimizing waste and maximizing output.
Who are the big examples here? Okay.
During the writing phase, they're in that loose, creative, Beatles-style mode. But the second they step into the recording studio or onto the movie set,
The atmosphere becomes, what, dramatic?
instantly dramatic. The clock starts ticking.
Because it's expensive.
It's all about the financial driver. The sources really emphasize this. Discussion is over. Deliberation is over. Everyone is focused on rapid completion because production costs a fortune.
Every minute the cameras are rolling or the session musicians are on the clock.
It's thousands of dollars. This is not the time for new ideas. It's about perfectly capturing the ideas that have already been approved.
So if Keith Richards is in the middle of a take that costs $100 a minute,
He's not going to suddenly decide to restructure the bridge. That's a huge waste of everyone's money and time.
you save that for the Group 1 meeting.
Precisely. In Group 2, the meeting is fast because the structure is rigid, the roles are clear, and the only goal is the final product.
So this is where the 30-minute meeting ideal actually makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense, but only if you've done the 8 hours of messy preparation first.
All right, so we have long, messy sessions for development and then fast, sharp, financially driven sessions for execution. But you mentioned a 2.5 category,
Ah, yes. Group 2.5.
the pure creativity meeting. What makes generating a truly original idea different from developing one?
It's a fascinating and, I think, a crucial distinction. If your goal is that first spark, that flash of a truly original idea, the duration has to be short.
Short. Why?
But the reason is cognitive, not financial.
Why does being brief help with originality?
That's a common assumption, but it's wrong because it confuses incubation with iteration.
Okay, break that down.
When you try to force originality through repetition, your brain stops creating and starts processing.
Processing what?
Processing its own previous attempts. We have to turn to this incredible insight from the source material, a quote from John Lord of Deep Purple.
What did you say?
He was talking about improvisation, and he had a rule.
Mm-hmm.
You try an improvised solo twice. If it fails, close the book for the day.
Twice.
He said otherwise, starting from the third attempt, you begin processing your previous tries, and that ceases to be improvisation.
Wow. Okay, so it stops being a fresh spark.
And it becomes a refinement of a previous failure.
That makes so much sense.
The first two attempts are where your brain makes truly spontaneous connections. It's firing in unpredictable ways.
Mm.
By the third try, your brain is just trying to fix what went wrong in the first two. You're rehearsing or iterating on old efforts. So if the purpose of your meeting is that initial flash of genius,
Pure creativity.
you have to keep it extremely brief.
You should just close the door, walk away, and come back with a blank slate tomorrow.
It's about respecting the limits of what genuine spontaneity is. Trying to force it is it's inefficient.
Okay, let's synthesize this because this is the knowledge bomb everyone needs. And now we have 3 completely different time constraints based on the goal.
And that's the central liberating lesson here. The duration of your meeting is totally irrelevant to its quality.
It's the purpose.
The purpose.
Yeah.
Development, execution, or pure originality. That is the only factor that dictates the structure you need.
So a 10-minute meeting for complex development is a waste of time.
And an 8-hour session for basic execution is a catastrophe. Not at all. These categories apply to any collaborative process. Creative teams, software development, academic research.
You now have the diagnostic tool. If you're scheduling a development meeting, you have to intentionally give it 4 to 8 hours. Protect that time.
And if you're scheduling an execution meeting, you demand 100% preparation and you enforce that 30-minute deadline.
Which brings us to a final point from the source material. The mindset of people who say all meetings are unnecessary.
The I hate meetings, I just want to put my head down and work crowd.
Yeah.
That view fundamentally assumes you're Robinson Crusoe.
Working in total isolation.
Right. If you're part of any team, any organization, you have to work with others. You have to exchange and synthesize ideas. The problem isn't the meeting itself.
It's the lack of purpose in the meeting.
Exactly. If you're trying to solve novel, complex problems over email or Slack, you are severely limiting your organization's ability to evolve.
An email chain just can't replicate that messy, spontaneous collision of ideas you need for real development.
You can avoid bad collaboration by defining your purpose first,
Yeah.
but you can't avoid collaboration entirely if you want to stay relevant.
So here is the primary takeaway for you as you're planning your week. Efficiency is not about shaving the clock down to 30 minutes. It's about aligning the time to the task.
Mm-hmm.
Schedule long hours for creative evolution, enforce professional speed for final execution, and set these short, sharp bursts for that pure original spark. You now have the blueprint.
And here's the thought we want to leave you with.
Explain what?
How do you account for the fact that nearly every major cultural, artistic, or technological breakthrough in history required real-time synthesis and the unexpected clash of ideas among human beings?
Right.
The Robinson Crusoe model.
Yeah.
It has never, ever been scalable for true invention.
Go forth and build your purpose-driven meeting framework